Next question in average speed. Now see here, the question says, a train moves at a constant speed of 160 kilometers per hour for 5 kilometers and at 64 kilometers per hour for the next 7 kilometers. What is the average speed of the train? Now see here. What is that they are saying in the question? There is a train which is traveling from one place to another place, right? There is a train which is traveling from one place to another place. For the first 5 kilometers of journey, it is traveling at a speed of 160 kilometers per hour, and for the next 7 kilometers of journey, it is traveling at a speed of 64 kilometers per hour. What is the average speed of the train is the question. Now see here, we know that speed is nothing but equal to distance by time. Time is nothing but equal to distance by speed, right? All these things we know it very, very clearly. We want to find average speed of the train in this question, and we know that average speed is nothing but total distance divided by total time. What is the total distance that is traveled? First 5 kilometers is traveled and later 7 kilometers is traveled. So total distance is 5 plus 7 kilometers. Total time. Time is nothing but distance by speed. So time taken from A to C, for example, if I name this as A, B and C, time taken from A to C is nothing but distance divided by speed. Distance is 5 kilometers. Speed is nothing but 160 kilometers per hour, plus time taken from C to B is nothing but distance is 7 kilometers. Speed is nothing but 64 kilometers per hour. But the only problem with this kind of methodology is I have fractions in the denominator and I need to simplify the fractions, and I will waste a lot of time by simplifying the fraction. Okay, let us do it. This is 5 into 1, 5 into 32. So I can simplify this as 12 divided by 32 and 64. LCM is 64, which I will put it directly in the numerator because it is denominator of denominator. I will directly put it into numerator. So 32 into 2 is 64 and 64 into 1 is 64. So 1 into 7 is 7. So denominator becomes 2 plus 7, 9. So this I can further simplify as 3 into 4 and 3 into 3 is 9. So 64 into 4. 64 into 4 is how much? 60 into 4 is 240. 4 into 4 is 16. 256 divided by 3. Average speed for this train is 85.33 kilometers per hour. But this I will not encourage you people to use this kind of methodologies for sure. Why? Because this is a very simple question which has only one part and the second part. It has only two parts. What if there is one more part saying that another 6 kilometers at 30 kilometers per hour speed, something like that? I'm just giving an example. Then you should add one more fraction in the numerator. The more number of fractions in the denominator, the more complex it will be to simplify for you people. So whatever the method I have solved in this screen, I will call this as method 1. I am not saying that method 1 will not give you the answer, but I am saying that method 1 will give you the answer in a very, very complex way by simplifying the fractions. Kindly avoid method 1 to solve this kind of problems. Now see here, same question, exact same question I will try to solve by using another beautiful method, and I believe that this method you will definitely try to implement going further. Now see here, a train moves at a constant speed of 160 kilometers per hour and at for 5 kilometers and 64 kilometers per hour for the next 7 kilometers. That means distance they are saying the distance as for the first 5 kilometer it is traveling at a speed of 160 kilometers per hour speed, and for the next 7 kilometers it is traveling at a speed of 64 kilometers per hour speed. So I can say that the distance ratio is 5:7. I hope it is clear for you people. The ratio of the distance is 5:7, and I know that the distance between one place to another place is a constant quantity. Because the distance is constant, I will assume the distance as LCM of the given speeds, like the way I assume the distance as LCM of the given speeds in the first or second problem. Same to same concept I will implement here. I will assume the distance as LCM of the given speeds. LCM of 160 and 64, it will be 320 kilometers. That means I am assuming the distance as 320 kilometers. If the distance is 320 according to my assumption, first in 1 hour it will cover 160. To cover 320 it will take 2 hours. In 1 hour it will cover 64. To cover 320 it will take 5 hours. So according to my assumption of 320 kilometers, it will take 2 hours for the first part of the distance and 5 hours for the second part of the distance. But according to the ratio, it is 5 and 7 is the ratio of distance. So total distance according to ratio is 5 plus 7, which is 12. According to ratio, total distance is 12 kilometers. But according to my assumption, it is 320 kilometers. 12 should become 320. But unfortunately, 12 cannot be multiplied by any whole number to become 320. So therefore, once again you will end up with fractions. So what I will do is, just for me to avoid fractions, I know that the distance ratio is 5:7, and I also know that when I divide 320 by 5 and 7, I should not get any fractions. So I will take the distance as 5 into 320 ratio with 7 into 320. I hope you are understanding it very, very clearly why I took like this. Because if I take in this manner, I know that according to ratio, total distance is 12 into 320. According to my assumption, it is 320. So basically, their multiplying factors can be easily found out. I hope you are understanding. That means, can I say that to cover a distance of 320 kilometers, I will take 2 hours. But to cover a distance of 5 into 320 kilometers, I will take 2 into 5 hours. So totally I will take 10 hours for the first part of the distance. Similarly, to just cover a distance of 320 kilometers, I will take 5 hours. But to cover a distance of 7 multiplied by 320 kilometers, I will take 5 into 7, that is 35 hours. That means I know that average speed can be easily calculated right now, because average speed is total distance. Total distance is 5 into 320 plus 7 into 320. That is nothing but 12 into 320, right? Or 320 into 12 divided by total time. Total time is, it is 10 hours plus 35 hours. Easily you can get the answer using this kind of beautiful shortcuts, and you will not have any fractional simplifications in this kind of beautiful methods. So 320 into 12 divided by 45. So it is 3 into 4, 3 into 15 once again. 5 into 3 is 15, and 5 into 5 into how much? 5 into 60 is 5 into 64 is 320. 64 into 4 divided by 3. Once again you will end up with the same answer as 85.33 kilometers per hour, which is option C. I hope method 2 is very clear. Do not worry, we will use more and more problems we will solve more and more problems by using method 2, so that you will be very clear about it. But having said that, I have explained in detail how actually method 2 will work in this particular screen. But to the right side of the screen, wherever I am highlighting right now, I will make it even more simpler for you. Now see here, how can I make it simpler for you in my upcoming problems without actually multiplying everything by 320 here and there, everything? How to make it more simpler, that I am explaining in this question only, in this screen only, so that in the upcoming problems we will be very fast in solving the problem. Now see here, we know that the speed is 160 kilometers per hour, for the first part and 64 kilometers per hour for the second part, and the distance ratio is 5:7, and I assume the distance as 320 kilometers, and because of this I got this as 2 hours, and because of this I got here as 5 hours. Everything till here is absolutely the same. Let me use a different color so that it will be easier for you to understand. Now see here, rather than multiplying 320 here, 320 here, and again by 5 here, again by 7 here, all these things you don't need to do while solving. I directly want to write average speed just by whatever I have right now here. From here to here, whatever I have right now, just by this I want to write the average speed value directly. How to write it? See here, it's so simple. Total distance, average speed is total distance by total time. Total distance is whatever the assumed distance of 320 multiplied by the sum of the ratios of the distances 5 plus 7, 12. That is exactly what you got here. You don't need to write all these things in the examination hall, is what I am trying to say you people. Divided by total time. How did you get this 10 hours? Already there is a 2 here. Just multiply with the first ratio 5. 2 into 5 is 10, and already there is 5 here. Just multiply by the second ratio 7. 5 into 7 is 35. That is exactly what I wrote and showed it to you earlier. I wrote everything possible and I have showed it to you in the left side of the screen. But I am condensing you. I am condensing the writing part on the right side of the screen so that directly you can write this and you can save a lot of time in our upcoming problems and also in the examination. I hope you are super clear. Why not to use method 1? Why to use method 2? And in method 2 also, why not to write all the unnecessary parts which I have written on the left side of the screen, and why you should write only the right side part of the screen in the upcoming problems and follow the same thing in the examination hall also. I hope it is clear for you people. Next question. Now see here, you will solve this question very fast. A man travels from A to B 51 kilometer distance with a speed of 24 kilometers per hour. Okay. A person is traveling from A to B. A person is traveling from A to B. The distance is 51 kilometers and the speed is 24 kilometers per hour. Okay. First statement is absolutely clear. And he traveled from B to C 68 kilometer distance with a speed of 30 kilometers per hour. From B he continues to travel to C and the distance is 68 kilometers from B to C and the speed is 30 kilometers per hour. Find the average speed of the whole journey is the question. It's so fast and so simple right now. You know that from the previous problems, you know that you can calculate the distance ratio. Distance ratio was calculated in the previous question as 5:7. Here the distance ratio is 51:68. 17 into 3 is 51. 17 into 4 is 68. So the distance ratio is 3:4 and the speeds are given as 24 kilometers per hour for the first part, 30 kilometers per hour for the second part, and we also know the distance ratio right now as 3:4, right? 3:4, and I know the distance is constant, so I will assume the distance as LCM of 24 and 30, which is 120 kilometers. 120 in 1 hour 24 to cover 120 it is 5 hours. In 1 hour 30 to cover 120 it is 4 hours. I want you people directly to write the average speed right now without multiplying 3 by something and 4 by something. I don't want you to multiply 3 by 3 into 120, 4 into 120 like the way I have written here on the left side of the screen for the last previous question. I want you people to directly write it. How will you directly write it? So the assumption of distance is 120. Write down that 120 multiplied with the sum of the ratios of the distance. 3 plus 4 is 7 divided by, this is total distance. Total time is nothing but total time is 3 into 5. It is 15. plus 4 into 4, it is 16. As simple as it can be, sir. It can be so simple if you apply this method. So it is 840 divided by 31. 840 divided by 31 should be the answer for this question in kilometers per hour. 840 divided by 31, option A. You can solve it so fast if you are using this kind of methodology, whatever I have taught. Now see the next question also. Next question, there are so many parameters, but still you will end up solving this question so fast. Now see here, can I say that a person travels 900 kilometers by train at 80 kilometers per hour. So by train he is traveling at a speed of 80 kilometers per hour and the distance is 900 kilometers. Okay, let us write the distance somewhere here. Distance is nothing but 900 kilometers. This is by train, and 1200 kilometers by ship. Okay, by ship it is 1200 kilometers at 240 kilometers per hour. So the speed is given as 240 kilometers for the ship. This is by train, this is by ship. 750 kilometers by aeroplane. The distance is 750 kilometers and this is by aeroplane. And the speed is given as 400 kilometers per hour. I hope you are super clear in understanding whatever I am trying to write on the screen. And 150 kilometers by car. By car the distance traveled is 150 kilometers and the speed is 100 kilometers per hour. What is the average speed of the entire distance? Now first of all, what is the distance ratio? All the four values, 900, 1200, 750, 150 are all multiples of 150. 900 is 150 into 6. 1200 is 150 into 8. 750 is 150 into 5. 150 is 150 into 1. So the distance ratio is 6 is to 8 is to 5 is to 1. I hope you are clearly understanding whatever I am trying to write here. Distance ratio is 6 is to 8 is to 5 is to 1. Let me use a different color for your better understanding. Speed values are given, but I know the distance is constant. I will assume the distance as LCM of all these four values. LCM of all the four values of 80, 240, 400 and 100 is, it is 1200 kilometers. In 1 hour it is 80. To cover 1200, it will take 15 hours. I hope you are understanding. In 1 hour it is 240. To cover 1200, it will take 5 hours. Right? It will take 5 hours. 1 hour 400. To cover 1200, it is 3 hours. In 1 hour 1200, sorry, in 1 hour 100. To cover 1200, it is 12 hours. I hope everything is very clear for you people. Now, I want you people to directly write the average speed equation. Average speed is total distance divided by total time. First of all, the assumption of distance is 1200. Multiply this with the distance ratio sum. 8 plus 4, 6 is 14, 14 plus 6 is 20. So it is 1200 into 20 the total distance. Total time is 6 into 15. It is 90. 5 into 8. It is 40. 3 into 5, I hope you are understanding, it is 15, and 1 into 12, it is 12. I am very clear right now that you people are understanding, and if you remember, to make this equation so simple for you, I have explained this right side of the screen for you people couple of problems before. If I did not explain this right part of the screen, you still would have done all these unnecessary extra steps whatever I have written on the left part of the screen, and you would have wasted your time. Now I believe that you are super fast in calculating all these values. Just calculate it, sir. 1200 into 20, it should be 24,000, and 130 plus 15, 145 plus 12, it should be 157. 24,000 divided by 157 kilometers per hour should be the answer. Just calculate it. I think, if I am not wrong, because 157 into 157, it is closer to 24,000. So somewhere it will be somewhere closer to 152.86 is what I think. So let us just calculate in calculator right now itself. Let me do it, sir. 24,000 divided by what is the value? 157. Yes, it should give you 152.86. I just calculated by mind, not exact value, in fact, just by approximation I calculated. So because 155 square, if you know, you can easily calculate. but 157, or you can just calculate like this, 150 into 150, it is 2.25 to 22,500, but you should make 150. What I'm trying to say, okay, let me say it here, how to calculate. 150 into 150, 15 into 15 is how much? 225 followed by 2 zeros. Now this is 157, that means you should increase it, right? You should increase it to 157. Answer will be definitely greater than 22,500, so it is 24,000 here also, and here also you have 150. So if I increase by 152 here, so approximately you will get it at 24,000 is what that is how I calculated. But there are multiple ways where you can calculate that value. But anyway, we are not actually interested in finding the division value here. We are interested in calculating the average speed for this particular question. And I believe that it is very clear for you people how we calculated the average speed. Next question. See here, it's also a very beautiful question, but a very simple question in fact. A car travels from A to B at V1 kilometers per hour. Okay, let us mark that A and B initially. A car is traveling from A to B at V1 kilometers per hour. Let me use a different ink right now. Now, a car is traveling from A to B and the speed at which it is traveling is V1 kilometers per hour, right? V1 kilometers per hour. Travels back from B to A at V2 kilometers per hour. It is traveling back from B to A at V2 kilometers per hour, and again goes back from A to B at V2 kilometers per hour. Now it is at point A. Again it will travel from A to B, and this time it will travel at a speed of V2 kilometers per hour. Find the average speed of the car is the question. Now, we know that average speed is the total distance divided by total time, and the distance between these 2 points A and B is constant. Whenever we want to calculate the distance in all our previous problem, how did we get this 1200 as the distance in the previous problem? That is my assumption of taking as LCM of the given speeds. So if you want to calculate the distance, you can assume it as LCM of the given speeds. Same example or same explanation in this question also. One of the speed is V1, another speed is V2. So the distance will be assumed as LCM of V1 and V2 and V2. So it is V1 into V2. I hope you are clear. So can I say that I am assuming the total distance as V1 into V2 kilometers. So this is the total distance. So if I want to calculate the average speed is total distance divided by total time. Total distance from A to B, it will travel V1, V2. Again from B to A, it will travel another V1, V2. One more time from A to B, it will travel another V1, V2. So numerator should become 3 times of V1, V2. So definitely option C and option B are ruled out because they are 2 times of V1, V2. It cannot be possible. Now either option C or option D should be the right answer. Now total distance we calculated. Total time. Time is nothing but distance by speed. Distance from A to B is nothing but V1, V2 divided by speed is nothing but V1. So V1, V2 divided by V1, it is nothing but V2 plus time from B to A. It is distance by speed. Distance from B to A is V1, V2 and speed is nothing but V2. V2 will cancel. You will be left with V1 and time from A to B once again. The last travel from A to B. That means the upper value or the upper arrow what I have put here. That is the distance by speed. Distance is V1, V2 once again. Speed is V2. V2 will cancel once again. You will be left with V1. So numerator is 3 times of V1, V2. Denominator is 2 times of V1 plus V2. That is nothing but option C and it is not option D. I hope you are very clear how to solve this kind of questions in the most easiest way possible.